Hello everybody, and welcome to episode number 45 of FinalBossTV, your WoW endgame rating show. Hi, I'm your host. My name is Adam K, aka Bay, and today we are talking about the final class episode. Little tear there, a little bit of World of Warcraft Enhancement Shamans. We opened the show with a pilot episode where we just talked about stuff, and we had no idea what we were doing back then. Almost a year ago now, 45 episodes. And yeah, so the final episode, we started with Enhancement. We're going to end with them properly this time, of course. We're joined by Bithindel of Supermassive and Purge of Pure. But first, before we get into all that goody stuff, let us go over and say hello to the co-host of FinalBossTV. There's Anna. Hello.
Hey everybody, nice to see everyone again today. I love that Bay let me do Ret Paladins well before he did his Enhancement Shaman. See, that's that's co-host love right there, co-host love.
Yeah, it was a bookend. It was my film brain working, I think, but you can think that way too. It's okay.
I see. No, I'll take it as a compliment. I know you technically did Enhancement first, but I'm gonna go with Ret Paladins took priority. So
yes. It also works on like getting guests and things for shows, so yes.
Take note, chat. It only took about 30 seconds for me to mention Paladins. I think that this show wins in terms of the final boss drinking game.
Have you drank already? You just start early. There you go.
There you go.
Like I said, joining us from Supermassive, wearing a blue shirt just like myself, because that's our class. There's Bith. Hello, sir.
Hello, Bay and Nana. Thank you for having me on the show today. Just ready to talk about the best class in the game.
The best class.
The best class.
I'll hear more about
Shaman in general. We'll just do Shaman in general, best class, but Enhancement's obviously the best spec.
Absolutely, indeed. And then, of course, here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Purge, now of Pure, formerly of Dread. Hello, sir.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, and I'm ready to talk about a spec that I have vague knowledge of.
Vague knowledge of? Just a little bit?
A little bit.
Yeah? Do you play this class at all? Do you reroll? You made your new 90, right? You boosted a 90, right?
Yeah, boosted 90 is Enhancement Shaman. It's I've been playing with it for a couple hours, but I think I can talk about it.
I think that yeah. I think it would be
Sounds
good to go.
Good. You know, that's the kind of experience that we like to have here on Final Boss.
Absolutely. Let me turn the music down right there, and we're good to go. All right.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, let's hear a little bit more from you guys about where we can find you on the internet, where you generally do your posting or your theory crafting, where people can find you if they want to hear from Bith or Purge about how to enhance. So let's start with you, Purge. Do you post on MMOC? Were you an EJ poster?
Didn't really post on Elias Jerks because that site kind of phased out before I came into the community seriously. These days I've mainly found on Totem Spot and now Sentry Totem, and I can also occasionally be found in the Simulation Craft IRC channel, which can be found on their website at simulationcraft.org.
Yes.
I see. Okay, I forgot about Totem Spot. That's right. Shaman have their own little home.
We do.
Oh yeah.
But hold on, Anna. Wait a second. Hang on. I'm trying to something's Purge. What's happening with your? What are you doing with your shaman right now? What is all this?
I don't know what's happening.
Sir, what are you doing? Sir, what is happening with your? Wait, hold on. Hold on a minute. Wait. Oh my God. All right, hang on. There's a little technical difficulties here. Let me get Purge's real picture up on the screen. There it is. All right, we're fixed. We're back. All right, you're back, sir. You are now, your proper picture is now up. We're good?
All right, I am a feral druid.
Oh, my
Downgrade.
gosh. Wow, true.
Downgrade.
True, indeed. So chat room doesn't freak out too much. These are your cats, correct, sir?
Mm-hmm.
You have I almost said, like, to Thex bunnies, you have cats.
Yeah, they're cats now. Most of these pictures are back from about a year ago when Final Boss was just a little baby.
Yes.
And they're mostly kitten pictures.
We'll go through a bunch of these today, but let's kick it over now to Bith. Go on you, sir. What's up?
Yeah, where can we find you online? Where do you do all of your posting?
I mostly just you can find me on my stream twitch.tv/Bithindel TV. I'm not really all that active on websites in general. I mostly just try to reach out to other Enhancement Shaman players that I happen to find around, specifically mainly on my server, or if I just so happen to meet up with someone on a cross realm, I help them out in any way possible. That's as much as what I do, really.
I see.
Purge is just way too good with the sim crafts and stuff. So
I think I can preface this by saying that both Bithindel and I just sort of like wait for him to do all the math, and then we're like guinea pigs. So yes,
Every community kind of has a pairing like that. There's the one who does all of the math, and then there are the people who sort of figure out how it's put into practice and talk to everyone else about how to do it. So it's interesting to hear from you guys who are on two different sides then of the theory crafting divide.
Yes, absolutely. Like I think the last time I simcraft myself was it tier 14? Maybe?
That long ago.
Yeah, pretty much. Then it was like, my simcraft for me is, what is it, armory.battle.net.com/purge? Is that my, yeah. Uh-huh. That's how it works.
I like it.
That's how it works.
Well, let's see what stats Purge is stacking today.
Pretty much, yeah. What is he doing? I had to ask you because you had that old metagem in, and I was like, is there some witchcraft that you figured out? So, but no, that was just a test. Scared.
Yeah, I've definitely had people ask me those things too. It's like, why are you gemmed like this? And sometimes the answer is just, well, I haven't actually fixed my gems yet because we're on farm, so don't copy me, please.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
So let's walk back a little bit and hear from you guys about how you started playing Enhancement. And I guess Bay, I can direct this one to you as well.
Oh, really? I get to open.
Oh.
No,
really, Bay gets to be interviewed as well. But I'd always love to hear about people's history in the game, sort of how they came to the class that they're playing, how long you guys have played Shaman, because Shaman have not always been accessible to both factions, and how long you've been raiding. So Purge, go ahead with this one first.
Wow.
Alrighty. You'll have to wait, Bay.
Yes.
Wait,
I started out Alliance side, and this was back in Classic, so didn't have a Shaman back then. I just played a Mage.
Ooh.
And
I didn't even know that. Really?
Oh,
okay.
It's coming out now.
Well, there aren't that many classes that you could play to sort of main DPS in Classics, so I said Mage kind of had to be one of them.
And then in Burning Crusade, I was Resto. I had all those chain heal, different ranks of chain heal keybound for Black Temple and Sunwell and all that fun stuff.
Delicious.
Oh yeah, and then I finally started playing Enhancement in Wrath of the Lich King first tier, and I've been sticking with that since then. And I just like the way the class feels, especially in starting in Lich King when they introduced sort of like a kind of battle mage element where you're just throwing out spells and melee abilities just in a flurry, and just like the way that the spec feels, and that's where I've been sticking to it.
I like that battle mage element. That definitely defines the sort of melee spellcaster type classes, and that's interesting that that's why you like Enhancement. So Bith, tell us where did you come from in the world of Warcraft? How did you get started with a shaman?
Well, I first started with a shaman very, very late from playing World of Warcraft. I actually started playing a while back in BC, early to mid BC. I actually started as a Resto Druid. I played that for the longest time, up until about, I think it was like late Firelands. It was during PTR when Dragon Soul was in PTR. I wanted to try something new. Just as someone in my guild, I liked the way that he played an Enhancement Shaman. Enhancement Shaman was just this huge. I'm trying to describe it a lot easier, but I just liked the way that they seemed, and I just decided, you know what, maybe I should try a different role instead of playing healer for many, many, many years, because I just got really tired of it. And ever since then, I think it was the best choice I have ever made in World of Warcraft, because it's so much fun.
Yeah, that feeling when you change specs and you're like, I am so happy in this new class or this new spec. Like, this is what I should have been doing all along. It's a good feeling.
I don't know. It's weird. I think Bith and I are really similar. I didn't play a mage back in Classic like Purge did. But I was also Resto Druid for all of Classic WoW, all of until the very end of like AQ40. I went old school Boomkin, where you had to melee stuff, you know, to get the mana back. Perfect. But when I saw like the beta stuff come out for Burning Crusade, and I was a healer for like 2+ years, and then before that in Star Wars Galaxies, does that
Wars.
does that qualify? I was a combat medic, so that was for like another year-ish plus, as being another healing type class. So when I saw like the support class, and they data mined Unleashed Fury, which is the attack power aura, I was like, it's like a support class in melee. That sounds wonderful. So
yeah, it's awesome.
I went Burning Crusade and dropped my Wind Fury totem, and then stood there, and then kept up Unleashed Fury, and yeah, and then kept up the attack power buff, and that was about it. And then ever since Burning Crusade, used to be a goat man though. But no more. No more.
Not anymore. Did you have Chinticles? This is very important.
I actually had the least amount of Chinticles as I could have.
Okay, good. I approve.
I think I had the 2 on the side, and that was it. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, the sideburn tentacles.
Exactly. See, I mean, I had them in real life, so I mean, it's kind of similar. That's fair. On that topic, though, do we know if we're going to be going Draenei for Alliance in Warlords Purge? We thought about that, because Dwarf was pretty strong too, but it looks like we're going to be going Space Goat.
The jury's still out until the tuning's done, but right now, primary stat's pretty good.
A little good, primary stat, pretty good.
A little good, primary
Pretty
stat's
good.
pretty good.
Very nice. I don't know. I
Well,
think
you
it'd
know,
be fine.
dwarves have a very big advantage over Draenei, and that is that you get keg totems. I'm just saying.
This is true.
Why would you give up?
That is
Why would you give up
true.
keg
Yeah.
totems?
Oh god, the choices though.
So, speaking of choices, you've got another bullet point here that I wanted to go into. Have you ever thought that it would be easier just to be elemental, considering how Blizzard has felt about melee? Hey, this is your question, not mine, babe. Just saying. But just, considering we have both definitely stressed out about how just hard it has been to be melee and how less fun it has been to be melee recently over the last couple years. Have you ever thought about just going elemental and kind of taking the road out to ranged instead of staying in melee?
I can say personally, there's only been one time that I've actually wanted to go elemental, and that's for Siegecrafter Black Fuse. I'm getting really tired of belts, and I'm just hoping that my guild will just finally let me finish my Ellie set so I can just nuke the ever-living crap out of the bombs that come out, the overcharged mines.
I just want a tunnel vision and melee mode on that boss. I can't imagine how good we would do patchworking it as enhancement.
Yeah, that'd be fun too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even think the belts are as annoying as sitting in melee range and having all of the melee around you blow up the bombs.
Yeah.
That is the worst. I'm like, put me on the belt, please. Can I be on the belt?
Just get me out of here.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Purge, what about you? Have you ever thought of this? You were a mage before, and
Yeah,
technically,
you've had the range. You've lived the range life.
I've lived the ranged life before, and maybe a generic caster, but elementals not that great.
Just period.
You mean not that great in
that's
terms
it?
of like number output or fun?
Number output. I mean, chain lightning's fun, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel like you bring more to the raid, staying enhancement?
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
See, this is interesting for me because Something Wicked actually didn't have an enhancement shaman. We lost ours in tier 11 right when I joined, and we haven't had an enhance until we took a friend of ours, a former Juggernaut player, wanted to come back to the game, and we basically geared her up out of like flex gear, and so now I get the enhancement experience of seeing someone like at the top of the meter at the beginning of the fight every time.
Yeah,
But
spam.
we didn't
Like
have
quite
we didn't
margin.
have that.
Yeah, well, speaking of quite a margin, just to brush off some of my shoulder, I did 2.12 million top burst. What have you guys both gotten? Someone in this Bith, I'll let you go first. I'll let him keep his crown.
Or are we doing this, Faye? We're really doing this? What your best burst is?
Well, we're the.
Okay.
I think. Does any class in the game burst harder than enhancement right now?
I don't think so. I think you guys are the best. The
No
best
class.
burst that there is.
Oh, let's be fair. Does anybody burst harder than our fire elemental?
Ah, there it is.
Fredo.
We're not enhancement shamans, we're fire elemental
We're
shamans.
fire elementals with an enhancement shaman pet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So what have you done, Beth? What's your highest?
I've actually seen my highest. I've just RNG just lined up perfectly on Heroic Garrosh, and I've seen a 2.5 mil burst. Just Fire Nova, Lava Lash spamming on the boss.
There you go. Yeah, our ads don't last long enough. I can't do anything on the beginning of Heroic Garrosh. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. We have like 17 Warlocks, apparently. I don't even know what happens. But all right.
So, but
Purge,
I mean, go.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I was going to let Purge do his.
Yeah. Go for it.
Goats. I don't keep track of that, so I don't know.
What? No.
Everybody keeps track
all in
of
the
it.
Simcrafts.
Terrible. All right, that's fair. So go ahead. What?
No, go ahead, Bae. Where were you going to go next?
No, I was going to move us on to the first actual topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving along sounds good.
Yes. The first episode we had with Enhancement back in the day, we talked a little bit about Healing Rain because we were stupid OP at the time, and we didn't know the way the show was going to mold itself and how our trained set of questions and things were going to build. So I wanted to at least open with the rise and fall of Healing Rain. Rest in peace, the Dominion of Healing Rain. So let's have a moment of silence. That's enough. Okay. So what happened to our off healing? Because at the time, we were like, why bring another healer? Just bring 2 enhancement shamans. So what happened to our off healing, Purge?
Well, it's still better than people give credit for. I think it's just at a point now where, right now, it's kind of like you have, on one hand, you could cast a Healing Rain. On the other hand, you could cast a Lightning Bolt. And way back in last year, not too long ago,
like a year ago,
like
almost.
on Raden, for example,
way back in the day,
putting down a Healing Rain was like a lot of healing, and a Lightning Bolt, not that much damage.
Right.
So, I mean, I think our Healing Rain right now is in a spot where it's good for an off-spec or a damage dealer's healing output. You know, having it on Healing Storm is a little overpowered. And I think it's at a good spot now. We're still very useful when we pop our AG and our Healing Tides and all that stuff. We didn't have both of those cooldowns before at the same time, and now we do. And like on Garrosh, healing the whirls while running away and all that kind of stuff. We have a pretty good kit still for that kind of situation. We just can't just drop a healer because you brought an Enhancement Shaman anymore.
No, not anymore. And then, Beth, what do you think how about like other stuff? Like, how is AG still a good thing?
AG, it's one of my favorite cooldowns for Shaman, honestly. But the thing it can't heal enough damage, but it's good for a slight to moderate amount of damage going out. Like a good example would be during Garrosh transition. I usually pop AG just to help out the healers when he's doing his smashes and stuff. And it actually heals a really good amount in there because it's not like a huge amount of burst damage that's going off like in Thok, but it's still a moderate amount of damage that's kind of separate, has a good time gap in between it to actually heal a good amount and keep people alive.
Yeah, I think the only times I ever use AG lately, though, I usually couple it with Ascending because that really kind of pushes the actual triage healing of it a little over the top. Because
doesn't it heal based on the damage that you do? You have to remind the
damage and the healing.
And healing, yes.
So you want to drop like a healing rain and then AG. So the healing gets copied and so does the damage you're doing gets copied. Other times to do it great are like on the bat phases in the Heroic Thok when you get your Flame Shock spread, hit AG and like Or have you guys actually gotten the Bloodletting debuff from the Paragon, the first one you kill on Heroic Paragons, and actually clicked that when the Parasites come out and Fire Nova?
Oh, I don't pick up Bloodletting, but I have done that with the Fire Nova AG, yes.
Yeah.
It is very fun.
Yes, exactly.
It lags everyone, too.
It lags people out. That's what I was getting towards. Yes, it lags people out. Yes, perfect.
That's horrible.
Because all the blood spam from the Bloodletting aura, plus all that. Yep.
AG strikes me as a cooldown that's better in small groups than it is in 25s. We're all 25-man raiders, right? Is that correct? I mean, my Shaman is my favorite alt, but it's not my main. So I end up using AG quite often in challenge modes, but I can't say that I have used it in like a 25-man setting.
I think it's kind of even.
It's
in
even?
both situations. In both situations, I think. I really don't do that many like 10-man raids or challenge modes to figure it out, but I would think that it's somewhat even between the two.
Okay.
It sort of feels like we have to couple things with cooldowns now. I mean, we're so late in the tier, and our experience might be different people that are like still progressing, or even in the 10-man scene, where they can use like one cooldown and it's fine. But there's never a time where you just like one enhanced shaman or one elemental shaman AGs and then you're fine. Like you need to put it with other things. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's nice that it's a solid thing that you guys bring to the raid, because I know that there are probably shaman out there who don't understand how good AG can be to help out. So no Devo aura, but certainly,
it's not
certainly strong.
Devo aura is really.
Hey,
good,
I say that because I'm losing it. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So now, how about rushing streams? Talk a little bit about that. Do you ever take it?
Nope.
Nope.
Never.
Nope. I just wanted to put the other healing talents in that tier in here. So.
Yeah, easy question there. How about conductivity? Do you use it at all?
It is fun, but not really. No, AG is just far superior out of the three.
I mean, I know there was a point where you could use like a trinket, right? Wasn't there a trinket that would let you, with conductivity, have like an infinite healing rain, but then it got fixed in beta? Am I remembering this right?
No, the conductivity was redesigned. This is like it's been redesigned many times.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this version is, I think it's kind of a trap for people, how they would think they want to use it. Like you put healing rain down, you got conductivity, and then they attribute, oh look, all this healing rain healing, that's from conductivity. But you could put healing rain down without conductivity, and you can keep it up like almost 100% of the time without conductivity. So the only thing conductivity is getting you there is those Maelstrom charges that you would be spending on healing rains are going into lightning bolts instead.
Yeah.
So you're getting like a slight DPS gain. If you want it to be a healing talent, then you have to take all those Maelstrom charges that you were saving from healing rain and put them into like chain heal or something. And that doesn't really do a lot of healing.
Doesn't sound like it.
I put it up here that like I think the only times I've ever actually used conductivity was Heroic Thought in progression and Heroic Empress during progression. Heroic Empress during the final phase where all the terrible AoE is happening, and then Heroic Thought obviously for the burn phases where you're just sitting there DPSing him. That's it. It's two fights in 3 tiers of content.
That's what I was gonna bring up. The new conductivity with Thok is really, really fun to use because you just see your healing rain down there constantly. Sorry, Purge.
What's up? Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying I could. Yeah, but I mean I could have my healing rain down constantly too, and I don't have to waste a talent point for it.
That's true.
Like, look, my healing range down all the time, but I've got AG.
Yeah. That was a turn off. I sort of did it at first because I was focusing on like other things and doing other timings and stuff. It's just for progression. Once you get down, you're like, AG's fine. Yep.
Yeah, it's fine for being lazy during progression.
Hey, Hey,
Farm.
Hey, we don't call it laziness. We call it efficiency.
That's the word.
So I'd like to ask, speaking as another melee support class that is not GCD locked, how do you feel about having so much supporty stuff that takes a GCD, like you're talking about casting Healing Rain, casting any of these things, but you are very heavily GCD locked? Does that feel good? Do you wish you had more space to cast these things, or do you feel like you're making a not so great choice? Or are you never making that choice and you very rarely use those support type abilities?
Well, the thing is that we do have a lot of GCD locks with our abilities and such, but the main thing is that AG is not part of the GCD, so it is. Okay. It is so you can just use that in between GCDs, and you won't get locked out. The only issue really is with Healing Rain, because that actually does take up the GCD. So if you want to actually put out some good off healing, you're going to have to waste that Maelstrom, but in the long run, it could be worth it. From a progression standpoint, it would obviously be a lot more worth it to drop a Healing Rain. Yeah. Even if you want to put in a Healing Stream Totem also, and then AG, and then just off heal like that.
We got a lot of cats today.
That is not Purge's cat.
That is not my cat.
That's my cat, and she's looking to jump up on the desk right now.
She wants to put in her 2 cents.
Yes, she does.
To touch or to continue off of his answer a little bit, I would also say that Healing Rain specifically, you're not really adding any GCDs in your rotation because basically you're replacing a Lightning Bolt with a Healing Rain.
Correct.
Yeah. And they share a sort of quasi resource with Maelstrom weapon, so like you're limited by the Maelstrom charges.
Yeah.
Instead of the GCD there, but the other abilities, like for our utility that we bring, like Healing Tide, which is on the GCD, Healing Stream Totem, Storm Lash. Those are Healing Stream can do some decent healing, and there are gaps in our rotation where we can just plop one down, and it's just extra healing, which can't really say no to. Storm Lash is kind of annoying, but they're getting rid of that in WoD, so don't have to worry about that, especially if you have like 5 shamans in the raid and you have to coordinate who's pressing their Stormlash when in the rotation.
Yep.
Basically.
Always the order. And then there's like a seniority chart where like, you know, the most senior shaman gets to go last and like the least senior shaman has no, the shaman in my raid do that too.
Yeah. I usually
it's better than warriors who have to keep having all the elemental shamans crying at them when they drop their skull banners outside of their ascendants.
Oh man, at least all that stuff is going away.
Chat brings up Earth Elemental Totem is always annoying to put down. It does less damage than wolves, but you have to lose a GCD on it because it's still free damage. There's one. Yeah, I mean that.
They do well with Primal. I think they're kind of close to wolf damage.
Yeah, with Primal it's not terrible, but normal Rocky is just like, I'm gonna punch this guy for like 400. Yeah, or whatever he does. I don't know.
So Rocky is what I have to know this. Sorry, this isn't on the notes, but is Rocky the official name of the Earth Elemental Totem?
He could have been a contender.
I've seen a lot of shamans call him Rocky. Since I started playing, even in BC, people have been calling him Rocky.
Yeah.
Now, how about the Fire Ellie? Does he have a name? Because I know what my raid leader calls his, but I don't know what you guys call yours.
Whatever our shaman's name is should really be on the Fire Elemental.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. We go back because we're the pet. We're the pet to the actual.
That's right. The player is the pet. The Fire Ellie's doing all the work.
The Fire Elemental is the actual player. Yes, that's what it is.
Well, at least he's going to like mostly the right place these days. That was not always true.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Well, yeah, he's fine. He targets whatever our Flame Shock or Storm Strike's on. Yeah.
Okay.
Primarily. Right? Yes.
Primarily. Well, let's move on a bit since we spoke a bit about raid utility and what you're bringing to the raid. How do you feel about the proposed Warlords balance for raid CDs? And it's not just CDs, as they've stressed very hard. It's basic utility, all of these spells that they rattle off as though we're going to actually use them in a raid, suggesting that we may actually be using all of these different spells in a raid. Like for you guys, I suppose that would be Healing Stream Totem and casting, I guess, off heals and things like that. How are you feeling about your place in the raid with regard to the utility that you bring?
Well, we haven't been touched too much in that regard. We lost Stormlash and Healing Tide. That's about it.
AG got nerfed. Well, AG got balanced.
AG got nerfed.
AG got balanced.
Yeah.
That's a very optimistic way to look at it. I like that attitude.
Yeah. It was a little strong. I mean, you got to think about it too. The way that all the pruning of all the other cooldowns will go. Now it kind of makes the ones that are still going to be there still really worth it because they have a purpose, right? So yeah, and the new health values and damage values and stuff like that works. So
yeah, we'll have to see how damage and health scale one another, and before we can really comment on how strong that new AG number looks.
Yeah.
So none of the three of you sound very worried then about like not bringing as much to the raid as any other class.
We're not losing Devo Aura. So
yeah, that's true.
Well, I suppose as you guys have always kind of brought all these hybridy things, and you haven't really brought a raid cooldown unless you count AG as a raid cooldown, which it sounds like y'all do. So I suppose if you're not losing one.
This expansion, we got all 3 of our cooldowns, AG, Healing Tide, and Stormlash, and we're losing 2 of them, so we still got 1 new cooldown that we didn't have before.
Okay. But that's good that you don't sound worried. You know, I guess I've seen a lot of other classes, not naming any class names, that have been very sky is falling about what they're losing. So it's nice to hear that none of the 3 of you sound very concerned and still feel like you'll be bringing useful utility to the raid.
Yeah. Another thing is that one one of our new level 100 talents actually is going to be might be a decent raid utility cooldown. If you get Primal Elementalist, you get the bonus speed boost with the Storm Elemental, and it also does the bonus healing, however based off of damage. It's kind of like an AG, but in a Fire Elemental form, or a Storm Elemental form. Sorry.
Yeah, it's that weird the cleave it does, right? The damage it does cleaves to healing too.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the abilities for the Elemental on Wowhead, her MMO, or all the people that are data mining them, and it's got. I don't know how much off healing it's going to do for the DPS specs. I think there was an ability there that's like, empowers the damage if you're a damage spec and empowers the healing if you're a healing spec. So I think they're going to use that to kind of tune the damage up for LE and enhance and tune the healing up for resto.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay.
We'll have to see. I know that on the elemental thing, I think they're trying to make, because I guess Storm Elemental is a ranged elemental. It pops up and then will like. Yes! If you're in melee though, will it walk backwards? I don't know how it's gonna work.
Oh, I hope
this is like me doing the fist pump for a ranged pet.
It's gonna make the utility of that speed boost aura a little interesting to manage.
Yeah, because if he walks away to go to range.
Hey guys, if you're within 10 yards of this totem, then you get a speed boost.
Yeah, well
as long as you stay in this very defined area.
Yes, of course. The really small little.
A speed boost in a very defined area. That doesn't sound like a very useful piece of utility. Just saying.
Well, that's what monks are getting. Windwalkers get that. They have a little.
No, but that's around them.
Well, yeah, that's
and
what I'm saying.
they're mobile.
Yeah,
we'll see how it's implemented.
Unless you're going to use like
around the elemental
projection.
itself. Yeah, if it's around the elemental itself and we like put it on passive, then maybe we can work with it. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'd be losing the damage out while he's doing that.
I just have visions of you guys using like totemic projection to like move the totem as people sprint by.
Please no.
I love projection.
That would be great.
I mean, I wish there were reasons for it, but yes, like that would be maybe a reason to use it. So or maybe I don't even know how it's going to work. We'll see, because they're making Fire Elemental also ranged. Maybe apparently Celery said they're going to try to do that, but I still just wonder, like if you're in melee already, hitting the boss, you cast it. Does it like it's gonna walk away and then start casting? So you're gonna lose like what 2-3 seconds of its DPS?
I would imagine that it's just wherever it plops down, it can mean if it's in range, it'll start attacking.
Yeah, because they're trying to cut down on like the melee cluster.
Yeah, I mean, it just like when the boss moves, you won't have this orange blob following it around. It won't have to follow
Flaming
it to keep up to still keep attacking.
True, that would be nice.
Ball of fire.
And then while it's walking,
as large as any other
player. I mean, how much do we see like the stupid little fire guy? I'm coming. Don't worry, Garrosh.
And then
I'm coming. Like when you're pulling paragons and you're all running over it, it's like I'm coming. I'm on my way.
Yes.
And then halfway through the distance, they decide to cast the immolate that they do. And you just see them sitting in the back, you just see them in the back just casting.
Yeah, they do that.
Oh no,
they do that.
That Saibe was please do not call him Celery. Don't fall into the trap of that
I'm
nickname.
sorry.
I don't like. No, I'm sure he likes that nickname. I don't like that nickname.
It's okay.
Sparkle Dragon.
Sparkle Dragon.
Sparkle Dragon is fine. I approve of Sparkle Dragon.
Perfect. Alrighty.
You were moving along to the next question.
Yeah, I was going to bring up, we have a question that comes in from, let me go over to that. Oh, wrong one. And whoop-a-doop. This question comes in from Iron Tagger, one word, on EU Emerald Dream. Elemental Shamans have some pretty awkward scaling, especially with the constant end of expansion buffs to shamanism. Oh boy. How would you solve that without making enhancement or elemental OP? Is there a solution to like fix the two?
Shamanism seems like a pretty good solution.
Yeah.
Well, there are some inconsistencies with elemental enhancement right now. Like elementals, fire elemental, for example, not quite as strong as enhancements.
Nope.
They could probably do something to adjust that a little bit. In Warlords specifically, the elemental is gaining another damage source that it doesn't share with enhancement that they could use as a tuning knob, which is Lightning Shield, because bye-bye Static Shock.
Correct. Yeah, they keep it with Fulmination. We lose it.
Yeah.
Static Shock. Yeah.
So
well, that's good. Do you share all of your tuning knobs right now with Elemental? There's no source.
Elemental has Lava Burst, right now that they don't share with us.
That's it, though,
And
really.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Which I still am a proponent for us, them giving Lava Burst to us for like an execute, but that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I can dream.
And I mean, if you really want to get down to it, they can separately tune Lightning Bolt between Elemental Enhancement, because there is the +% Lightning Bolt damage on Shamanism, which they can tune for Elemental, and now there's this new Maelstrom perk for Enhancement where, +% damage with however many stacks, which will mostly be going into Lightning Bolt. So they can, if they overbuff Lightning Bolt and it's too strong for Enhancement, which I don't think they would ever need to do unless they wanted to bring Resto's damage up, because they could just touch Shamanism, but they would be able to down-tune Enhancement by just touching the perk if they really had to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything on that, Bith? Anything to add?
No, that's pretty much it, really. I mean, that new perk that's in Warlords, I mean, it was a nice set bonus. I think it was the Dragon Soul tier bonus, the one that increased the damage and healing.
Similar to it, yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to it. I loved that set bonus so much, and I'm happy to see something similar come back in Warlords.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, Purge pretty much nailed it right on the head, to be honest with you. Also, Elemental does spam Lightning Bolt a lot more than Enhancement, so.
Yeah, they kind of have to have a lot. I mean, that's their auto attack, basically.
Yeah.
They kind of
Lightning Bolt's pretty big for Enhancement next expansion.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, is it really? So
It's always an interesting question of how Blizzard manages to tune two so very different specs that are completely different roles even. I think the only other class that has that issue is Druids, between Feral and Balance, and they just have completely different spells that they're casting.
yeah, that's pretty easy. But Elemental and Enhancement literally are one is all spells and one is melee with some spells. So it's always been an interesting little topic, but we'll see how that works out. But,
Yeah, we'll see.
Yep. But the topic that I was gonna get into with that question now is just happened this last little patch that came out with World of Warcraft. More Valor upgrades, everybody.
More Valor.
AKA
Who's bothering to do it? Let's see a show of hands. Note that I'm not raising my hand.
Heck yeah. I'm 583. I'm like one upgrade away from 584. Yes. Whatever that means.
I guess I have a responsibility to the Retribution Paladin community to actually
Really?
do that. I'm so over Valor right now.
Huh. I mean,
Well, there's a +% Valor community buff going right now.
Oh yeah, you want to get online?
So I
do
heard
that,
plus
but,
Valor that would require logging into WoW. We took a bit of a break, and it's the first break that I've had probably since like 2009. So because we don't usually take breaks, so I'm kind of enjoying it right now. But I suppose I do need to Valor upgrade. Anyway, move along with your question, Ben.
You absolutely should. No, I'm just this brought up in the Enhanced Shaman community. I think in most communities, and now this will be different for every class. This is just for Enhancement Shamans. I don't know if other classes are doing this whole new Heroic Warforged 4 of 4 plus 2 set kind of jargon. But we wanted to bring it up for Enhancement because now it's a topic. Is going 2-piece plus 3-piece Heroic Warforged 4 of 4 better than just staying 4-piece with 1-piece? Preferably the shoulders Heroic Warforged offset piece. I still have the damn helmet because the shoulders never drop, ever. Is that, what should we stay? I mean, I know, Purge, you've tested this a little bit, so what have you found out about the 2+3 Heroic Warforged or staying 4-piece?
Shoulders are actually one of the better off pieces.
Right.
But they're kind of, I don't know, I've seen a lot of people ask about it, but they don't. Going Warforged right now, last time I simmed it for my character, which was right after the Valor upgrades came out. I mean, last time I simmed it, which was way back when the tier launched, it was like 0.7% behind using the 4-piece, and now it's like 0.1 or 0.2% behind. So it's like it's roughly equivalent against one target. So if you don't have the 4-piece or you don't like the 4-piece, you could just use the Warforged offset, and you're not going to notice really the damage loss. Yep. But I wouldn't call it optimal.
No, doesn't really gain you anything.
No.
Right. There we go. And
Easily.
Go ahead, Beth. Yeah.
Oh, it's say easily something that you would probably want to use against Heroic Iron Juggernaut or just Iron Juggernaut in general.
Yeah, that's like the only fight.
Yep. Pretty much. Maybe if you want to, if Kor'kron Dark Shaman, if you're a guild that sends a melee, or if you're a guild that actually does the split shaman strat, and you send the melee up to the top, and then you just gradually climb down. It could be of use right there also because you're not cleaving off of the ads. You're just missing out on that extra damage on the dogs at the beginning. But I mean, those dogs die pretty quickly anyways, and you could just use it to just get that extra boost, maybe that slight extra boost of damage on Harem up at top.
Yeah, maybe. I just wondered. I know when we started talking about this in the Shaman Council Skype group, I was like, "It's gonna be garbage. It's not gonna do anything." Even though you get a higher eye level and more stats off those 3 heroic Warforged 404 pieces because they go higher than the heroic sets. I was like, "But you're losing like the chance for quadruple lava lash procs that are just like, oh, you know, like I don't think they gain much more damage than that because that could be millions of damage right there if they crit."
Yep.
So. Yeah.
It's
Also,
also
the fun
pretty
factor.
rare.
The fun factor. Yeah.
Let's be honest, at this
that's
point,
true.
the fun factor is very important.
I think the leveling perk will be a little more fun than our current 4-piece because our 4-piece doesn't proc that much.
No.
Yeah.
And haven't you tried with some early sims of that perk? Like it's a lot more consistent than the current set piece perk.
I mean, it procs 3 times as often, so.
Yeah. So that's yep. Anna wishes she had her proc Divine Storms, but alas.
I know, alas, they're not going to give it to us baseline.
Yeah.
So I suppose we could move along to the next topic here,
Yeah.
where you had spoken a little bit in the notes about Maelstrom Weapon and Lava Lash. So I'd like to know from you guys who are the experts, how often do you even wait for 5 stacks of Maelstrom? Do you always wait, or is there a gain from hardcasting at 3 or 4 stacks, and is it worth it?
I think just at a higher gear level, I'm not really waiting as much for 5 stack of Maelstrom anymore. I'm actually somewhat able to get away with even doing a 2 cast if everything's on CD. Because, I mean, it's just the amount of haste that you get on pretty much full best in slot gear.
Right.
It's just a very, very short cast time in general. So with that higher gear level, I really don't see myself waiting as much anymore. But at lower gear levels, I would never, ever, ever even think about casting a lightning bolt with like 1 or 2 stacks of Maelstrom. That's like a 1.75 cast right there.
It doesn't feel good, but
yeah,
the sim still thinks it's slightly worth it.
Really?
That's really just the issue is that this expansion in particular, our lightning bolt has gone to not really meaning much. That was one of the reasons why our healing was so powerful in Throne of Thunder, is just because we didn't really lose any damage from doing that because lightning bolt doesn't hit that hard. Like with Primal Elementalist spec, it's only like 5 or 6% of our total damage.
Yeah, exactly.
And you only lose like a third of your lightning bolts to put out healing rains or something like that. So, I mean, it is slightly worth it to hardcast.
Right.
You're not gonna see huge benefits from it though in this expansion. In previous expansions and so far in the next expansion, Lightning Bolt actually means something again. So it will definitely be something to do when that happens. But for now, it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, I think I noted in here when I was making the building up the show stuff. I think it's the only thing, once you're so familiar with our rotation and our priority system and your brain just knows what button to push when it comes up next. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing we sort of have that is like a skill ceiling to weave in those hard cast lightning bolts.
Mm-hmm. It is pretty much the only skill way to differentiate. I mean, it's not the only way, because if you do look at people who are new to the spec, like they are just not pressing buttons as often as they're supposed to be.
Right.
Just because, just doing simple mistakes like, Lava Lash and then Storm Strike. And then all of a sudden, the next time those buttons come up, they're at the same time. So you have to delay one by a GCD. Like that kind of minor stuff where you just use less abilities over the course of the fight. Yeah. And obviously, hardcasting, you use some more lightning bolts. But yeah, when it hits harder, it'll definitely be something that'll differentiate the skill level a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's who can weave them in, because the issue right now is if you're not really like skilled enough at it, you don't have the feeling for like how fast your 3 or your 4 is going to cast. and you miss like a second off a lava blast cooldown, that then sets back the next cooldown, setting back the next cooldown, and you just like trickle down effect of just pushing abilities you could use in an encounter off, unless you want to play it safe and always go at 5 because it's always an instant. So that's the one little thing I like to try to, you know, max if we're tryharding. There's been farm content for so long right now. It's like it's a 2, just throw it out there and whatever. So
specify any particular changes that you'd like to see to this ability, maybe in Warlords, to bring more of a skill, maybe let you show off more of your skill with regard to using it correctly.
Well, that actually brings up a question, Anna. We'll bring that up. We'll go to that.
Oh, this was a Q&A.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. So clearly one of our viewers preempted me.
Yeah, no. So Keldaric, who I don't know, I talked to him about this before. Like, how does he get questions in every show? I don't know. Just ask good questions, I guess.
He asks good questions.
This one's sort of a grab bag. It's, would you like to see Maelstrom weapon resetting other abilities rather than what it does today, or examples of other thoughts toward interactive like elements with Maelstrom weapon? So right now, all we use it for is like 3 things, and one we don't lesser wave yourself. You don't healing surge like rarely ever. So. What do you guys think?
What else would there be to use it for, honestly?
My idea, when you're under 25% on execute range in a boss, lightning bolt turns into lava burst.
Yeah.
Yes!
Okay.
Purge hates that idea so much. He's like,
well, I think the main issue with Maelstrom weapon right now is just that lightning bolt is so weak. And I think that problem is sort of already on its way to being fixed in Warlords.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I can't really talk about anything else on that matter.
Yeah, and Beth, I interrupted you a little bit there. I don't know if you had something to go off of with that.
No, I was just saying that we really don't have that many spells that we actually cast, really. So it's really just a tie between lightning bolt, healing surge, or elemental blast if you spec into it. Right. And healing rain. My mistake. And healing rain.
Yeah. Well, I was not including elemental blast in that. That's sort of like a if you even spec elemental blast right now, because most of the time we haven't been. So it's just not that strong. But we'll have to see how that works out.
But in Warlords.
Oh, Warlords. Yeah. Purge has some math. Used a pretty good spell. You think Purge pretty good spell?
It hits pretty hard.
Yeah. So
it's nice to hear you guys a little optimistic about what Warlords is going to bring for you.
Oh, it's looking to be really great. So
good.
Yeah, whenever we get it.
Yeah, when we get it,
in 2017, you know, and
everyone would really like to be able to actually test all of these things that we've been, you know, excited about or not excited about, as the case may be. So perhaps on June 3rd, maybe we'll see some alpha.
Maybe. Tuesday morning.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, moving right along.
Next little bit I wanted to get into was, so we're ending this little topic with the grunting part, but right now Lava Lash and Fire Nova. So tier 16 brought the whole the flame shock ticks resetting Lava Lash, aka more spreading sort of flame shock, if that spell actually did work properly sometimes. Mostly it was the extra burst potential. And I know we're getting that baseline in Warlords, but was this a test, do you think, that they were like prepping to see if it would work to fix our AoE problem, or was it a band-aid because enhancement AoE until that happened was awful?
Well, they blatantly said it was a test, and that they were thinking about adding it to the spec if it worked out. Right. And it's just, as a set bonus, they had to tune it appropriate for a set bonus. Right. So that's why we can't really quite tell how well it works, because it's kind of a rare proc as a set bonus. But as a perk, it should be fairly okay. Yeah.
Right now, isn't the... It's RPPM'd, right, on the set bonus, so you can only actually ever get so many? Or is it's the
15%.
Just 15%?
Yep.
So what's
the set bonus is 5%. The perk is 15.
Right. No, I was talking about the set bonus. Like, how many, on average, do you ever really see in an encounter? Like, have you ever gotten really weird amalgamations where you get, like, 30?
Well, however many... look at an encounter, look at how many flame shock ticks you got, divide by 20, that's about how many procs you got. But that's not how many extra lava lashes you get, because it could reset in the middle of a cooldown, and then you really only got refunded half the cooldown in that case. So it's a little worse than that implies.
Yeah. And then Beth, what about you? What do you think of the whole tier 16?
I personally, I like it a lot, and I don't like it. I like it a lot because like it's a good boost in both. It could be a huge boost in AoE damage, and it's really good boost in single target DPS. But I hate it because of how often it never procs when I want it to.
Okay, that's true.
So RNG is just awful.
Well, I mean, a way to think about the AoE aspect is that it doesn't really it doesn't move up our maximum AoE DPS too much, other than the extra lava lashes that we can do. Like, it just moves that back end forward a little bit.
It opens up.
Because our AoE scales kind of exponentially with the number of targets, and if there's a lot of targets around that last for a decent amount of time, our AoE would do a lot of numbers, and it just helps us bring those big numbers from the end toward the beginning a little bit.
Yeah, that's always very frustrating with regard to AoE when you're like, my AoE is great with a lot of targets that last for a certain amount of time. But a lot of times when you're doing AoE in an encounter, it's more supposed to be burst AoE, or you're supposed to be bursting those ads down, or you want those ads to live as little as possible. And then you get kind of frustrated when you're like, man, I can't really help until X seconds in. So moving, kind of front loading that a little bit more will definitely be something that you guys will enjoy more.
Yeah, it helps. I mean, when stuff either comes out and you're like, oh, I'll get to AoE now. And like, wait, give me 4 GCDs, all right, guys?
Yeah, give me 4 or 5 GCDs to set it up. Yep.
Good thing we never use Magma Totem anymore. That was the pain in the butt, because you're like, all right, Flame Shock time. We unleash, Flame Shock, Lava Lash, and then Fire Nova, and then Magma Totem somewhere in there. And then we got Fire Nova again. Then we may have a Chain Lightning in there somewhere with a 5-stack. Like, it's awful. It used to be bad, like so bad. It's a little better now, but...
I would kind of like to see some sort of design attention paid to those fire totems, because Searing, they're removing Searing Flames, which already wasn't really interactive because you always had a 5-stack by the time Lava Lash came off cooldown, and Magma Totem, which just pulses for like 1,000 damage
for tickles?
when you're doing like 500k DPS.
It's like not really magma; it's just like a little bit of heat.
Yeah, it's just the warm totem. It just keeps the boss's feet.
Room temperature totem.
Room temperature totem.
Hashtag room temperature
great.
totem. Get that trending on Twitter to Celestalon. Go for it.
I like that.
That would be great. More power.
But if a little attention was paid to them, I feel like they're one of those things where maybe if there was more of an interesting choice, you guys would actually care about putting down a fire totem that was correct, if I'm catching the drift of your conversation correctly.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's no choice. You're either Searing
no choice
or
right
you're
now.
Fire Elemental. That's it. Does Magma Totem even break at like 8+ Purge?
Sure.
Like,
I mean, if you want to be like, that's technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Yeah, 8. It's 8+, right? I'm not a bad enhancement shaman. I'm okay.
In like the 6 to 8-ish range. I mean, it's an irrelevant totem, so it's not really worth bothering to keep track of it too much.
Yeah, but it needs to actually, like, warm the boss's feet or mob's feet so many pulses before it becomes a benefit. So, yeah, it's awful. It's just poop pants. So that actually brought us. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's technically ever so slightly better than it used to be with our current 4-piece, since it gives us free Searing Flame stacks. So losing Searing Flames doesn't hurt as much, but that's really minor.
Yeah. That actually brought us to our next question, which you sort of just answered right there, actually. This came in again from Kildark on Twitter. Would you like to have a different rotation for AoE that was more than just Fire Nova on cooldown and Chain Lightning at every 5-stack of Maelstrom? Which, basically, if you've never actually played Enhancement, to do like a really real rotation with Fire Nova on every 4-second GCD, like, what is that? Yeah, it's not the most fun thing. It's literally GCD locking yourself. But what do you guys think? Beth, what do you think for
I would love to have a different rotation, or or just different spells in general, really. I like having Fire Nova. I don't like having Chain Lightning, to be honest with you. I just don't think it really does that much damage for enhancement. It's got a pretty, I wouldn't say too long, but it's a pretty decently long cooldown. I would like to see just something fill in different. I would like to see an actual physical cleave added in for us.
Physical cleave.
Yeah.
Because everything we do is elemental. Our only melee attack is Storm Strike. Soon to
Yep.
be, what is it called? Wind Slash or some stuff? Because we were losing.
Storm Strike is still Storm Strike. It's Storm Blast, which
Storm
gets
Blast,
changed to Wind Strike.
Wind Strike, when you're ascended. But that's not going to be nature damage anymore. It's going to be physical. But like, the only thing we have besides that is auto attacks.
Yeah.
It would be interesting.
Wind Fury.
Wind Fury.
Having an interesting AoE rotation is very important.
Feral Spirit. Purge, please. Please. I mean, to find Feral Spirits on the damage meter right now, you got to scroll down for like 4 hours to find it in the first place. So
Not in Warlords.
No. You're so awful. Yeah. Real quick. If you're hearing a crackle in the stream right now, it might be something to do with transcoding on Twitch. Turn off source to high. That might be what you're hearing, the little pops and stuff. That's a Twitch thing, because I don't hear anything, and we're fine on this end because of the noise gate. So toggle from source to high quality, and it'll probably go away. Some streams sort of get that from time to time. So just a little side note there for chat room. But yeah, I don't know. The AoE situation we're in right now is getting better, but it always feels like every other class had such an easier job for the longest time. So,
Oh, I guess I'll answer that question too, though.
oh yeah, go ahead.
I think Chain Lightning is a little weak. I think part of that just because they've pushed so much of the damage into Shamanism. But I mean, Chain Lightning isn't really our spell. It's kind of the only thing Elemental has going for it. So
yeah.
We have access to it. It's slightly better than a Lightning Bolt. Although I don't even know if that's true in Warlords right now, but that's just a tuning issue. Like, it does slightly more spell power scaling, but it doesn't... All those jumps don't get the crit from Storm Strike, so... Correct. I think it actually might be a wash-ish. Unless you glyph it. But, Fire Nova... I wouldn't really want the rotation... I wouldn't want anything really added to it. We already have enough buttons. I think it's mostly fine. I think we have our own niches, and burst AoE doesn't have to be one of them.
Sure, like, we don't have to be good at everything. That's one really good point that you bring up that I guess goes with every class, is that back in my day, there used to be the rock, paper, scissors encounters for classes. And I really think that comes back in Warlords. Especially with, like, the range versus melee versus hunter, because they're special snowflakes.
Versus hunter.
They get that you have rock, paper, scissors with encounters, whereas, like, certain classes will be really great on certain encounters, and other ones won't be. And that's fine. That's how the game works. It makes it organic. Because if every class was the same awesome effectiveness on every single encounter, you'll see the same damage meters on every single encounter forever. You'll see Warlocks, and then you'll see, like, tanks, and then Warlocks, and then other classes. So, like, that would be really dumb. So, we'll see. We will see, indeed. But, anything else on AoE? I think we're good on that. Good?
Probably commercial break time. Yep.
Probably a little bit of talking here. A little bit of something. Alrighty.
Says Anna with her empty glass.
Oh, that's what it's from. Oh, okay. I see. All right. Well, I'm going to take a few moments here then to discuss and talk about some things that you may have known about behind the scenes here. Little communities that we work together with that we like to talk about that you guys should check out as well. First up, of course, is going to be the very awesome Totem Spot. Now, this is for all three specs of Shaman, Resto, Elemental, and Enhancement. And if you need a place to go to find out all of the awesome compendiums of knowledge coming out for Warlords of Draenor, then you want to go to totemspot.com. Just bookmark that, go for it, and be ready for all the huge guides. I think I've read every enhancement guide that has ever come out, and I always kind of update them as the patches go along. They're really great resources for every of the three specs. They always do, like, max gear. They always talk about talents. They break down everything as it changes. So the 6.0 patches that come out for shamans are going to be lots of awesome information. Go check those out at totemspot.com. Additionally, of course, another totem, but not specifically a shaman totem. The website made by Tickle, Sentry Totem, which we do work with as well, is a awesome, huge website for every class. They talk about PvP, a little bit of PvP, a little bit of awesome PvE from all the different columnists and writers that do work on, they're called experts, on Sentry Totem. And Purge, real quick, you are an expert on Sentry Totem as well, correct? So what do you do on the website, just from a first-hand account?
Well, from the expert side of things, people can submit tickets if they have questions about, how they can improve the way that they're playing the game just in general. They link armories, Warcraft logs, World logs, and, combat parses, and we can try to help them out and make sure they get on the right track.
Now, when you submit a ticket for like an audit of your class, right, does it go to a certain expert, or do you just get a pool and then any of the experts for every class can sort of like all answer it, or does one grab it and then just go from there? Because there's lots of awesome people for every single class.
There are a lot of people signed up. It's kind of case by case-ish. Like if you put in a request for someone, then, when you put in a ticket, it goes into a random pool, and whoever is signed up for that spec, it'll be randomly assigned. But
Right.
if you ask for someone, they could reassign it, or even if there's I think there might even be some group audit functionality, but I haven't personally done that yet, so I don't know too much about that.
It's gonna be awesome. I think for when people are learning the stuff in the future, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do, and how they're gonna play better. That I think that would be a huge benefit for everybody to jump on Sentry Totem. And if you need help with a class or a spec you're not playing on your class you never played before, then go check that out. But they've got featured columnists. They have awesome little write-ups that come all the time. Great people that are involved. You guys can go check out Sentry Totem. Super awesome people involved. Go check that out. And then, of course, if you've missed any episodes in the past of Final Boss, you can go check our YouTube out. I actually just posted episode 44, which was the BlizzCon 2013 live raid between Method and Midwinter, which I sort of edited down to a interesting level. I cut out almost half of the entire event. You can go check that out. Super fun. Intro was a lot of fun to do. But then, of course, all the classes we've had, because after this episode, we're done with classes. That's all of them. We're going to do a Warlock revisit sometime in the future when the real world boss is conquered. But if you missed our Ian Hazakostas interview, both the main and the after show, we all sat down with Zarim and Celestalon for patch 6.0 stuff a while ago. And then we have every other class too. DPS DKs, we got Prot Warriors, we got Guardian Druids. Let's load some more here. We got Blood Death Knights. We've, of course, got fun community episodes that are here and there if you guys want to watch, fun people talk about stuff. We had the fun season finale episode with Coltrane from Convert to Raid, Brutal Static, and then Anna on her Skype phone from across the world. And then Nobble the Noble, Silver Latomi for back around Christmas time. Lots of fun stuff. Whereas Halloween episode, we talked with Alex of Fat Boss. So go check out our YouTube. That's where all of our episodes are. We're also found on iTunes and Stitcher if you want to listen to the episodes just without video. You can listen to the audio-only versions. But yeah. People were wondering about the giveaway going on with the last episode on YouTube. I'll be announcing the giveaway the winner, on Facebook and Twitter later today. And then t-shirts should be coming to all the donators very soon. Anything else? Oh, if you're an animator or you know how to draw with your hands, we're putting a huge project crew together to convert War Crimes by Christy Golden into a full-on machinima web series of about 10 episodes long, about 15 minutes or maximum or less, to do a really huge project. Got some awesome voice actors coming on for that. But if you want to help us out with artwork, it's the biggest project and problem, then send us over an email at finalbosswow@gmail.com. The link is on our website. Right on the top, just hit that little envelope button. And then, of course, if you have questions for future episodes, you can go ask a boss. All the links are right down below. Right down below there. So go check that out. All the little linky poo. Even though the Twitch organization is all weird. It's not the way I want it, but yeah. There it is. So we'll see if we fix the if I fix the noises we're having right now and that people are experiencing. I don't know what's happening, but we'll move us right along into the meat and potatoes. So, Annie, want to take this away? You can take this first little bit, and I'll go
sure. Let's talk about the math behind Enhancement Shaman. So the first thing that we want to talk about are talents, because everyone always likes it when we talk about specific talents. And we did have a couple questions in chat about what talents you guys take. So let's talk about tier 60. The Elemental Mastery versus Ancestral Swiftness versus Echo of the Elements. Which talent do you guys take and why? We'll go with Purge first.
I pretty much always use Elemental Mastery these days. And that's not really because Ancestral Swiftness is bad. It's just I prefer Elemental Mastery. You can game it a little more than just, a passive flat line of plus 10% melee haste. Like, you can actually game that 30% when it's actually meaningful in the encounter, or when, whatever. Like, you have procs and all that stuff. You're popping your other cooldowns. So you can kind of eke out a little bit of an advantage there, but those two talents are mostly on par with one another for most situations. Echo the Elements, not as good against single targets, though in theory it's a good AoE talent.
Right.
It's just that in this tier, there hasn't been a good, meaningful AoE DPS hard check. So
yeah, there really hasn't.
I see.
Not really. And Beth, same. What do you want to go on that?
Well, going back to starting with Echo of the Elements,
yeah.
People would say Spoils of Pandaria, but I honestly think that's more of an execution fight than, not like execute, but like you have to do it properly or else you might mess something up. Not gotta open it up. Gotta open up the crates at proper times. Again, you can't go. You don't want to go over the crates and wipe the raid. So I would consider that more of a execution based fight instead of AOE. Ancestral Swiftness. It is a really, really good talent, but Elemental Mastery does outshine it in multiple situations. Ancestral Swiftness is really, really good on Heroic Thought progression. If you're an Enhancement Shaman and you would probably want to take it if it's progression, because you can get that free cast off. That's a free healing rain if you want to. How about the healers a bit? It's good passive haste to try to get your lightning bolt or whatever you're casting off quickly before the next deafening screech happens. But the passive haste is also still really good for other situations.
I might disagree with you on that specific case.
Yeah?
Ah.
Uh-oh.
It's just it depends on what you're wanting. Like, if you do want the extra free cast, then yes, AS has that and EM doesn't. It's just that on that fight, there's a lot of running around, and being able to front load the talent benefit into a time when you're attacking the boss, kind of valuable. Like, when you're not attacking the boss, that AS haste isn't doing anything for you.
Right. Yeah, I've always thought of Ancestral Swiftness as like, it was good when we stacked haste last tier because we were auto-attacking like madmen.
It's still good. It's just not as good.
It's not as good, yeah. And once we get the 90 talents out there, our 60 and 90 talents are like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I would just offer that the prime case of when you want to use AS instead of EM is when there are hard DPS checks more frequently than once every 90 seconds.
Ah, yes. Okay. So more often. Gotcha.
Well, how often have you had hard DPS checks more than once every 90 seconds?
It's mainly for like, streaming ad waves and that kind of stuff. I would say maybe not quite Paragons, but almost a fight like that where you want to kill one boss and then you want to kill another boss and another one and another one and another one. And on Paragon specifically, you kind of have EM up for each one, but that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Maybe on like a Garrosh, like on progression, you might not have, or you might have to hold EM if you want to have it up for that first transition phase where you have to kill all those ads really quickly. And that might be the thing you need to do if you want the 30% haste to burst them down quicker. But, I mean, if you're still progressing, you might also be struggling against just the basic, am I doing enough damage for the boss check? And if you have to hold EM, then that might not... There's kind of a tipping point there where maybe AS is better in that case.
I see.
That's true. I really haven't used Ancestral Swiftness since Tier 15, though. So I don't know, but people can always make fun of me in my stream about like if I'm being a super lazy raider because I only use 2 combinations of talents, but I don't know. It's always worked for me. I guess it always depends on your raid setting too and where your DPS is at and how much you're contributing if you're compared to other people. Because other people need to hold up the slack. Then if you're doing fine, then more power to your raid group or whatever your settings are. So, but I guess the only thing was. It premises again, our tier 90 talents are like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with their tier 60. So, like Echo of the Elements sort of always pairs well with Unleashed because you get the extra lightning bolt damage and you get extra lightning bolts or extra shocks. But how about EB? I know that you've worked on EB before, Purge. How does EB work with that? Is it just not consistent enough to matter?
It's good. I mean, all the tier 60 talents are situational. They have their own uses. The tier 90 talents don't quite have that going for them yet, I would say. I think EB has too much overlap with Unleashed Fury in that they're basically both chunks of damage every 12 to 15 seconds. They're so similar cooldown, and EB adds another button, UF doesn't. So why take EB?
Yeah.
And also currently, right now all the talents are somewhat balanced if you don't have any of the tiers gear like the AOC trinket or the 2-piece bonus. But if you have those items, then UF and PE just beat EB again, which has been kind of the story of this expansion. But that's mainly an item issue. Like if those specific 2 things didn't exist, then EB would be theoretically okay to use. But
yeah, it's in a weird spot right now.
Yep.
So, anything else on the tier 60 talents, Beth, or?
Not that I can think of. Nope.
Okay.
None.
So bringing up then and getting into the other half of the sandwich then for tier 90.
We get into tier 90 talents.
Yeah, we get into Unleashed Fury, which just improves Unleashed Elements. Primal Elementalist, aka it makes the Shaman the pet class, and Elemental Blast, which is just the huge, chunky, awesome-looking spell if you're elemental because you can actually see it.
Yeah.
So standalone, do any of these overshadow the others if you're not looking at the tier 60s because they kind of really worked well together with them? But just looking at 90 talents first, where do they stand right now?
Oh, I guess that is something worth pointing out that did get mentioned in chat, but EB is pretty good in PvP.
Oh yeah,
just to crit someone's life pool away.
Okay, that's a fair point.
And the bonus stats are pretty good also. So in PvP standpoint.
So even though EB doesn't get a lot of love in PvE, it's still not a worthless talent. Like it has some application still.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yep.
And then from a PvE standpoint, then back to that, then Purge. So what do you think?
So PvE, Primal Elementalist is pretty good.
Yeah.
Just pretty good, right? Just a little.
It's okay. It turns, the fire elemental does a lot of damage.
Yes. Have you seen that it actually it's doing better now, obviously, than it was doing relative to tier 15, but with stacking haste last tier and mastery this tier?
Mastery does buff the fire elemental.
Right.
Just the thing is that we have flurry, which is plus 50% haste rating, and that's necessary for our overall haste scaling. Taking into consideration a lot of our damage sources don't scale with haste, like Storm Strike or Lava Lash, although technically with a 4-piece Lava Lash slightly scales with haste.
Yes.
So it's necessary for overall scaling, but for our pets and guardians, that just means that haste is like the god stat. Right? Because 100% of their damage scales with haste, and they're just getting 150% haste.
Yeah. What about 90 talents? Anything else, Beth, before we kind of push the sandwich together?
Well, we kind of didn't give any love to Unleash Fury.
Well, yeah.
You can talk about that.
Does Unleash Fury deserve any love?
Oh,
it's pretty cool, honestly.
It can still go toe to toe with PE on a fight like Galacrass.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the cloak proc, that procs are 2-piece.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I actually didn't know that. Okay. Probably haven't paid attention to that since it's been farm mode. Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
well,
I guess it would,
it's not
because
quite
it
as
says...
it's not quite as hilarious as the PTR where the cloak was also able to proc flame tongue weapon.
What? Really? Well, that's a thing.
That was good times.
Yeah. So, but standalone, you think if you're looking at the 390 talents, Primal Elementalist is just too good?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Elementalist is pretty good right now. You kind of need those extra targets for Unleash Fury right now, just because the extra procs from the cloak.
Okay. And then Elemental Blast is more for PvP, I guess, sort of right now, and maybe better
right now.
Warlords.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now, pushing the sandwich together, which is really kind of how these talents work, you kind of don't take one without another. And I've always told people, sort of in a basic standpoint, for looking at these talent tiers, is that if you're not starting off a fight with heroism and everything on the pole and going crazy for DPS checks throughout the encounter, then you can just go with Echo and Unleash Fury. It's just sort of like cruise control for damage. Your rotation barely changes. You just kind of go for it, right? But if you're starting out with everything on the pole, Elemental Mastery and Primal Elementalist are kind of good. Mostly because...
Kind of good.
Just because the Fire Elemental sort of just goes kind of bonkers.
Oh.
A little bit. He kind of does some damage, right? And is that sort of like a general assessment? Purge, I'm not wrong there, right?
Not quite.
See? There you go.
I mean, well, you're mostly correct in that, yes, a lot of the damage that people see from PEEM is in that first, during heroism on the pole with all the trinkets proccing and PE and EM and everything stacked on top of each other.
Right.
So if for whatever reason you can't use heroism on the pole, that is kind of a larger relative hit to that spec versus another one like, for example, Echo UF. Although if you take UF, you don't have to pick Echo. You can, but you're not forced to. EM and AS are still technically better for a single target.
Yes. So, and what do you think there, Bith? What do you do for your talent combination sandwiches?
I like to Frankenstein stuff mostly because you can't get away with it if it's on farm. I've had a little fun with having the instant cast EB, but that was not that much fun. But it's pretty much it is cookie cutter spec these days. Even though Blizzard did say that they want to get rid of the cookie cutters. Just Enhancement Shaman in general are sticking with that same cookie cutter, sadly at the moment. But EMPE, ASPE can also be viable. ASUF can be viable as well. Just a bonus haste for more procs from the from Unleash Wind. For the static shock.
For lightning shield, exactly.
Yep. Same with EM. It can be a slight burst also, EM with UF, but vast majority of the time you're always sticking with EMPE, sadly.
Yeah. A lot of
it sounds like that you sound like you are feeling a little bit like you're pigeonholed into always picking the same talent. Would that be an accurate assessment?
Yep. Yeah, it mostly just scales with gear these days.
So. What scales the best?
That double upgraded or quadruple upgraded AOC.
Yeah, a little bit. It's gonna be really weird having Fire Elemental on like a 5-minute cooldown in the future. Like, where is he? I only see him. Where'd he go? Is he?
Is that something that you feel like is going to change in Warlords at all, or do you have any suggestions for making it such that you guys are less pigeonholed?
I think part of it is community perception.
Yeah, always.
Like, I think, EM is better than UF, but not to the point where no one can use UF, like, ever.
Yeah.
And, that seems to be kind of how most people play Enhancement now, where they just PE. Like, you can still use UF on most fights, and you won't probably notice the difference unless it's, like, specifically, like, a really short burn fight, like Iron Juggernaut or something, where obviously having that huge burst on the pole is, like, the only thing that matters. But in that situation, it's also like, okay, you did a lot of damage, maybe you parsed, but it wasn't really relevant damage. Like, you weren't going to hit the Enrage,
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So I have kind of a question with regard to Primal Elementalist, since it sounds like you guys have been using it a lot. And this may be a really dumb non-shaman question, but bear with me. Do you get any, are you only picking the talent because of the damage boost that you get, or are you actually micromanaging the pet at all? Because I know that being able to micromanage the pet is another benefit that you get out of Primal Elementalist. Like, are you casting any of his abilities or like moving him places?
Well, not really moving in places. Sometimes we push, what's his name? Recall too fast on Heroic Paragon, so I have to make my Fire Elemental physically stop. But aside from that, no, you can macro the abilities into some buttons that you mash as an enhancement shaman that the Fire Elemental casts. Actually, we used to do that a lot back in TOT because the Earth Elemental would just start taunting stuff. So
yeah, that's one specific thing about Primal Elementalist that you it's kind of a perk somewhat that you can't do without Primal Elementalist through the pet bar, but you can disable the taunt on the Earth Elemental.
You can disable the taunt. Yeah.
Yes.
Does he taunt bosses?
No, but he still taunts ads, even though I don't think he's supposed to.
But, yeah, well, there are plenty of ads that you don't want him taunting, so...
Yeah.
But the thing is that since they share a pet bar, when you turn off taunt, like, you turn off the Fire Elemental's Fire Blast.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's not so good.
Well, you can work around it just by macroing the Fire Blast into all your abilities.
Yeah, it's sort of stupid. I actually...
I
did that at first, but I think I don't use those macros anymore. I just turned on the taunt. I just don't use elementals very often.
They did fix it though. They did fix the whole taunt thing with Siege of Orgrimmar. So
yeah, it's a little silly.
As far as manually using their abilities, I think the only time I've really done that was on Lei Shen in the last phase with the Primal Earth Elementalist to get the healing boost and the damage reduction.
Yeah, the little mini shield wall thing. Yep.
I see. Okay.
It's different too because as Resto, they use both pets to self-buff themselves, right?
Yep.
They never use them for output usually, right?
I think that might be a mistake. I know some people like Ashnira share the sentiment, but the Fire Elemental does a lot of damage even for Resto. And yeah, you're not a DPS spec, but I mean, you know, it's still a few million damage for a GCD. So, I mean, I don't know, it's not insignificant. If you're going up against an Enraged Timer, I probably wouldn't use the healing buff as a Resto Shaman unless you really, really need the extra healing.
No, absolutely, it is. That's what I always thought was weird when I see the Primal Elementalist shamans that use it, and they're just like channeling on the shaman, like, you can do it, buddy, 10% more healing. Yeah, versus my 3 million damage I can do to the boss. Don't worry, it's okay, though. I got this. They're just sitting there channeling on the guy. But Rocky, of course, that's fine. But Fire Elemental, like, get in there, man. Punch the guy. Yeah. That inception people don't have. Yeah, so. But I want to wrap up a little bit here with some stats. I think
let's discuss some stats here.
We've had a little bit of an up and down this expansion. A little bit. So, I'm going to take it away and go for it. Whoa, Purge, what?
Might go off script a little bit, but I've seen the question in chat.
Oh, okay.
A few times, and not just in chat, but elsewhere. People asking about the enhancement opener.
Yeah.
Go into it. That should be in the show.
I was sort of going to leave that for the soapbox, but put it right now.
Okay. Well,
stats aren't super fun.
It's a big question that I get a lot, all over the place.
Yeah.
So just to answer that, I would say that especially as PE EM spec, our opener mainly depends on how well the Fire Elemental does, which means there isn't too much that you can do to optimize it. Like, you want to make sure your Fire Elemental gets the full heroism duration. You want to make sure he gets as much of your opening trinket procs as possible, so drop him early if they're going to proc on the pull. You want to make sure he gets buffed with Unleash Fury, or not Unleash Fury, but Unleash Wind as much as possible, because he does benefit from attack speed. But other than that, hope you get back-to-back trinket procs. The only real personal thing that the Enhancement Shaman can do to maximize their output is try to get 2 Storm Blasts in on your opening 10-second trinket proc.
Yes.
That's kind of a big deal. Just try to organize around that. And Other than that, it's just kind of situational depending on the boss, whether you're going to open with, unleash elements or whatever, like if you have to go in from range or if you can just start right next to the boss or not. So
yeah, I think to preface that and then give Bith some time to go on it is that depending on how proficient your tanks are at making sure the boss is on them on the pull, I love starting off with all my cooldowns and then storm blasting into the boss on the pull, but if that crits for over 1 million damage and the boss is like, oh, hello, babe, and then you're dead... That's happened multiple days.
There's a YouTube video of that happening to me on Garrosh somewhere.
Oh, I think that's right. Yeah,
and my raid leader going, wipe it. It was so bad.
Yeah. I feel like you forgot to macro wind shear into your
actually
for the threat drop.
I should bring that up. Wind shear for me is my weapon swap key back when I played a whole bunch of Counter-Strike Source, so it's like a nervous thing I always do. So people ask me, why do you keep hitting wind shear all the time? Now it counts as a spell for the meta gem. It does actually it can proc a charge of capacitance, but it's mostly just like a twitch, but it's still a DPS upgrade. Yes. So there you go. People always ask about wind shear, but that's true. You should macro wind shear and a storm striking purge. Is that what you do? So you storm blast with a wind shear for that 8% reduction? Ooh, yeah.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
I don't macro it in. I'll just hit the wind shear.
Right.
Sometimes,
of course.
Sometimes a rogue decides they want to tricks me, and they don't tell me about it or the tank.
Yeah. There you go. That's happened to me before.
Yeah.
So, Bith, what about you for openers?
I just really tend to use all my cooldowns at the start. Take an Iron Juggernaut, for example. I use my Wolves about 3 seconds into the countdown timer, then Fire Rally, 2 seconds. Pre-pot, Spirit Walk to get to there first, and then start blowing up the boss with Ascendance and all the fun stuff that Enhancement gets to do. That's pretty much it. Just make sure that you maintain your proper prioritize rotation. Make sure you don't cast the Lightning Bolt with 0 stacks and Maelstrom. I actually wanted to bring this up with back at the Flame Shock thing. Sure. Because it is kind of filling in with the pre-pull and on the pull stuff. Higher ticks of Flame Shock, you want to make sure that you get a good Flame Shock up. If you have all the trinkets, Bloodlust, Elemental Mastery, pre-pot, you could see a 75k Flame Shock ticks taking out 1.22 seconds. You would want to actually just keep that up there for the longest time.
Yeah, you don't want to interrupt that first Flame Shock.
Yeah. Yeah. No matter what a website would saying, yeah, you always want to use Flame Shock with Unleash Flame Up. No, you don't. You want to actually just try to make sure that you pay attention to certain things about Flame Shock.
Correct. Yeah. That's the one thing I was going to say, too, is that your shock priority is a big deal.
Yes.
Especially, don't just hit Earth Shock instead of another ability. Because it's just, that's the last priority we ever really care about, right? Everything else is way higher. And I've seen people that are like, why do you have this on cooldown for so long? You're hitting every other button, but your shocks are still up. You don't hit them. You just, it's not good damage. You gotta know what's the biggest thing in the priority list. Yep.
Well, before we're done today, do you want to talk a little bit about Stats Bay? Just do a brief stat looking?
That sort of goes into our last question, honestly. We'll kind of couple it together here.
Oh, cool.
We'll kind of put it all in the same regard. We talk about stats and whatnot. This comes a little more of a community perception thing. But Richard Ragnaros, I can get behind that name, on Twitter asks, do you think Enhancement Shamans is unpopular due to the complexity of its priority rotation, quote unquote, or are there other factors, I added this, mostly centered around how high-end guilds treat them? I guess how they're perceived. So, I guess, what do you think about that? I know you brought that up in the pre-show.
I don't think it's rotation. I think it could be a factor of the rotation. Warcraft is kind of opening its door to... We are losing... World of Warcraft is losing subscribers, but there are more and more people coming into the game. And I don't think it would be so much of the actual rotation and priority, but I would think that it could be. People don't really want to play something that scares them, really. They'll look at a rogue or something, or a Brett Pally, or any of the melee DPS class, really. They don't really have as many physical and spell damaging abilities as an Enhancement Shaman does, and that could actually scare someone.
Right.
But towards the other part of the question with high-end guilds not wanting them, that is kind of a true factor. For the longest time, enhancement shamans did not bring any really good raid utility. Even when we did pick up Healing Tide Totem this year, we really still were lacking with the raid utility, and not many top-end guilds or guilds in general will take us, even though our damage is really phenomenal. But during a progression, you would actually probably want to bring someone who has like a warrior or a rogue who can Tricks of the Trade and Smoke Bomb or Skull Banner, Demo, Rallying Cry, better raid utility like that. I think that's why enhancement shamans really don't get that much love in guilds most of the time.
Yeah.
I would add on to that slightly that it's not that we don't have utility, because we do have a lot of utility. It's just that there's certain utility that's valued for cutting edge progression where you're really under geared. Like, for example, being able to immunity off a debuff or something, we can't do that. Or being able to soak like a huge damage spike, we can't really do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like we don't have like a huge damage immunity or a very big damage reduction cooldown. Although that we kind of get sort of one in Warlords with the new Shamanistic Rage glyph.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, we'll have a huge shield wall in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the damage reduction on that in Warlords?
It'll be 60%.
Yeah.
60% is pretty big.
Yeah, it is.
And it can couple with the other one. I can't remember what it is now. Oh gosh, Astral Shift. So we'll technically be at 90%. Is that 100%? But it's additive, not it's multiplicative, not additive.
They're additive. I think they're multiplicative. No.
It would be multiplicative, but still a 60% wall and then behind a 40%, like that's pretty big. We can take some big hits finally, because we can't right now.
It'll come out to like 76% reduction.
Man, I'm feeling like I'm feeling lame with my 40% now. I feel outdone.
Do you? Okay, Bubble.
Well, yeah, Bubble. But, but in terms of like...
Well, you have this immunity, but...
Yeah, I just only have an immunity. Sorry, only an immunity. But no, I mean, I use DP much more often because it doesn't reduce my damage output, so you can just pop DP whenever. Bubble is a little bit more of something that you have to think about when you're using it.
Correct. That's fair.
As far as the unpopularity goes, back to the question...
Yes.
I think the main issue is actually just that enhancement doesn't share gear with the other shaman specs.
It doesn't, so it's harder to. What's the rationale behind that?
Well, like if you're a resto shaman and you have to have an off spec, it's going to be elemental because you can use almost all your gear.
Oh, yeah.
So same way, if you're an elemental shaman, you're going to have an off spec. Could be resto. You got a lot of the gear already there. Yeah. So, you can still see it now, like, even though enhancement is kind of the better spec right now than elemental, elemental's still way more popular.
Yeah, well, that changes extremely in Warlords, because we can
we will be able to share spec, or share gear.
It's the same gear for it's just shaman gear now, so that'll be great.
Do you think that's going to have a big impact on making it easier for people in y'all's class to maintain off specs?
Definitely.
I hope so.
Because I think it's going to do that for my class as well. We haven't always shared gear.
Do either of you ever off spec ever? Because I know I've got like 4 rows of gear in my bags right now that's all like, this is for elemental, and this I could use these trinkets for that too. But then I have all the resto gear down here.
Sort of, not quite.
It's gross. I can't wait to get all that.
I have a different shaman that's elemental.
Oh, you do? That's right. You're so weird. You're one of those.
You're one of those. You have another shaman.
The rationale is I can upgrade twice as much gear.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
Oh, I'm sure you. Yeah, you just love that valor so much.
Oh yeah.
I see what I mean. You can upgrade all your gear twice as fast. I mean, I see the rationale there. It's just so much time. So much time.
That's true.
Purge isn't as bad as me when it comes to having multiple shamans, I can tell you that much, and people in my guild can say that also.
Yeah.
I have another shaman in the guild, still enhancement. I have a horde shaman that's enhancement on some random server, and I have a enhancement shaman on EU servers. So
yeah,
gotta have a shaman to play with everyone.
I'm just all over the place with them.
That's like, we have a warlock in my guild that has 4 warlocks on the same server. It's a little weird.
I think it's about time that we closed out the main show. What do you think, Bay?
Yeah, we'll do soapbox. We'll move it a little
Yeah,
bit
let's
to the
do
after
some
show.
soapbox.
Yeah, we'll
So,
soapbox it.
I'll direct it to all three of you guys, since all three of y'all are representing Enhancement Shaman here, and we'll just go with Bay first. But what is it that you'd want to impart to your enhancement brethren who are watching this show? Is there any sort of closing remarks that you want to leave people with, common misconceptions, or just like words of wisdom, or how you feel the class is? Just what do you want people to come away from this show feeling? And Bay, we'll go with you first, and then move on to our guests.
Flame shock uptime really is a
Flame
big,
shock uptime.
Like, well, there are lots of shaman logs that I've seen or I've done. I go into LFR randomly just to see what people are doing, and I've seen other enhanced shamans and they have like flame shock was cast 4 times. I just think people think they don't know how to like manage it, or they're not watching it some way. I use quartz debuff bars for my target, so you can watch where your debuffs are. It helps a lot for the unleashed elements, unleashed fury buff as well, that you know that you're casting your lightning bolts and your earth shocks into the extra damage, right? Or the crit chance, of course, for the debuff in the first place. So that really helps, and I think people don't. If you don't use an add-on that sees your debuffs, Flame Shock is just lost in the huge cluster of them. And it's a huge part of your damage, so be able to watch your personal little buffs that are shaman-related. People think back to how Stormstrike used to have charges on it, and it was crit for nature damage. That's where I got in that habit of always watching my own debuffs, but rest in peace, that version of Stormstrike. But yeah, watch where your buffs are, your debuffs and stuff that help your damaggio.
It's just not something that the default UI makes very clear. It's something the game could do a lot better with. So that's worthy advice to the enhancements out there. So now, how about you, Beth? What would you like to let people know at the end of this show?
If you're looking to play an enhancement shaman, if you're wanting, since Blizzard added in that new free boost to level 90 now, if you're thinking of making an enhancement shaman, during that commercial break, there are some really good sites that you could look at, but mostly, what I would actually prefer alongside with those websites for knowledge is go out to some server where one of the better and top tier enhancement shamans play, and if you could actually probably catch them on online most of the time. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of the times they will actually help you out with any questions that you have. I can say that when I was first getting back into heroic raiding back in TOT, I actually went over to Korgath when Chillbros still played, and I was asking him for advice on Rod N because I got into this guild that was about to do Rod N and stuff like that. So, and we had a nice conversation. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start doing that, and I just hope that a lot of people will realize that you can still talk to good, like, top tier raiders and stuff like that, and they'll actually will help you out with stuff. That any questions that you really need answered.
That's great advice. I know there are a lot of really friendly top enhancement shamans, not just you two, of course, and Bay as well, but there are a lot of other names in the community, like Chillbros, I hear, and Ashanera, and other people would just certainly be happy to help people who ask them. And
just don't talk to Primal Shock.
Not Primal. Yep, not that guy.
Not that guy.
No. Yes, FinalBoss crew made up quite a bit of enhancement shaman. Yeah,
he's too busy trying to grow a beard. Just leave him to that. All right, leave him to his beard growing.
It's so much effort. Yes. So how about you, Purge? What would you like to leave people with? What would you like to leave our viewers with?
Well, most of the enhancement shaman knowledge, I'd like to deposit over there at Totem Spot, and now going in the future as WAD. Eventually, someday in the future, goes into testing. Maybe it'll be coming up on Sentry Totem too. So those are some good resources I try to maintain. And you can, like Beth says, you can catch me in game if I'm online and talk to me there. And I mean, I don't turn anybody away, or I haven't yet.
Okay.
I haven't yet. We'll see about that.
Yeah, and Simcraft, I'm in their IRC channel usually. I'll see me there as Flapjack, although I might be AFK a lot. Yep.
That's right. You should. I didn't bring that up in the first part of the show. Is that your name usually online is usually Flapjack, not not Purge in the IRC and whatnot. You're Purge though on Totem Spot and Sentry Totem, so your people are fine. But yes,
Totem Spot and Sentry Totem being definitely places where people can go for that kind of information as well.
Yep, I brought him up when he was talking, so go bookmark those. Sentry Totem, of course, is for any class, not just Shaman. So don't
not just Shaman.
Not just Shaman. So I think we're good. I think it's time to get out of here and come back for some after show. I think where's the button? Hang on, I got it.
Sounds like a plan.
I got it. There it is. I found it. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys very much, of course, for watching. Around the table real quick here. I'm gonna bring up your regular picture, Purge, real quick. Purge, thank you very much. Oh God, it's all weird.
Which one's the regular?
I don't even know which one's the regular one. Thank you.
You should just flash through all the kitties really fast.
I did. I brought up the regular Shaman picture and it was still disco-ified, so I had to reset it. That was funny. But Purge, formerly of Dread, now in Pure. Basically the granddaddy godfather of Enhancement Shamans. Thank you for being on the show, sir. It was awesome.
Alrighty.
And anything else? We got some more cat pictures left. We'll get those to the after show.
Oh yeah,
we'll
still have to cycle through all of them.
Yes.
We'll cycle them all.
And we have, sorry. Wait, wrong overlay. Terrible. Purge is all of his social medias and stuff for the internet's over. You can go check out centurytotem.com/profile/Purge, or go to the staff section on Century Totem, and all his linkage is right there. And of course, there's Bithindel over there in Supermassive. He's over on twitch.tv, Bithindel TV. Thank you for being on the show, sir. It was awesome.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. People were talking in chat earlier about which shamans to come on, but it's always, you gotta find the right people. All right, you gotta find the right people.
Always the right ones.
A lot of people were wanting Purge, so they asked for it, they got it.
They got it.
We appreciate having both of you guys. It's been really fun.
Absolutely. You can go follow Anna on Twitter at AnnaPhil.
Yes, Anna, now with a well-attached shelf, as a chat was really concerned about that at the beginning of the show, so I figured I would confirm before the show ended that don't worry, my shelf is now bolted to the wall, will not be falling down any longer.
Perfect.
And you can go follow me at AnnaPhil on Twitter to hear more from me.
Yes. And of course, there's me outside of the show, playing other games and stuff, and you can ask me questions. Of course, I'll be doing a lot more streaming to the actual Final Boss TV channel once Warlords comes out, finally. Maybe, hopefully. But I'm over at twitch.tv, BayTLM. You'll find me over there. And of course, all of our social media is down below for Final Boss TV. Thank you guys very much for watching. Next week, 45 episodes later, it will be our actual first Sunday off.
Yeah.
There will be no Final Boss next Sunday. So...
Provided Blizzard doesn't release alpha in the next 24 hours or something. Now that we've said that.
That's true. I think, well, if Warlords comes out, Anna, we'll probably just do a live stream during that time.
Oh, I know. If Warlords comes out, all bets are off the table. We'll just be updating people on Twitter and letting you guys know what we're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But planning to have no show next week. That's why I kind of released the live raid this week, too. I kind of doubled up the content. So we'll have our first Sunday off, barring Warlords of Dren or beta. So get us on YouTube for more stuff. Obviously, Twitter and Facebook for updates. The links are down below. But then we have another Blizzard interview planned for the end of June, though. So look forward to that. More details coming out for that in the future.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
And I didn't plug this earlier, so I was waiting for the after show. In July 20th. July 20th. Mark your in-game calendars, your real calendars on your phone, your calendars on your walls. Trivial Pursuit rounds 3 and 4, July 20th.
All right.
Everyone's back. Same teams, 2 more rounds. We'll see if Alex and Laws can actually answer some questions properly. But we'll see you guys there for that in July. And of course, for everyone behind the scenes at Final Boss TV, thank you all very much for watching. Stick around for some after show if you have some questions. But until then, guys, bye-bye.
See you later.
See you later.
Adios.